Welcome back. This is a full digital SAT reading and writing module. 27 questions, walked through the way a tutor marks them up. Pause on each question, try it, then watch the markup. Here we need the most logical word for the blank. Look past it to the real clue. The sentence says what looks like randomness at the surface hides a precise cycle below. So the blank has to capture that surface impression, eruptions that seem random and irregular. Start with predictable. It's the exact opposite, since the sentence says that order is hidden, not obvious. Cross it out. Violent describes force, but the contrast here is about timing, not intensity. That one's gone. Infrequent means rarely, something the passage never measures. Strike that too. That leaves erratic, which means irregular and unpredictable, exactly the surface impression we expected. Erratic is right because it names exactly the random, irregular surface behavior that monitoring later revealed to be a precise underground cycle. The takeaway: in these vocab questions, predict the meaning from the sentence's contrast before you ever read the choices. Here, the novelist's celebrated economy of style was blank, and the colon tells us exactly what kind. Each spare sentence began as a sprawling paragraph she cut draft after draft until only the essential remained. So the blank has to capture relentless effort, not ease. Effortless contradicts all that labor, so off the list. Accidental says the style just happened by chance, but cutting draft after draft is deliberate, so cut it. Overrated judges whether the fame is deserved, a question the passage never raises, so that dies too. Hard won means earned through great effort, and that fits the drafting perfectly. Hard won is right because the colon's evidence, sprawling paragraphs cut draft after draft, shows the style was earned through hard work. Takeaway: when a colon defines the blank, let that definition choose your word. Here's a hard vocabulary question. The diplomat takes pains to blank her own role in the treaty negotiations. Watch the colon. Everything after it defines the missing word. She credits her colleagues generously, and she dwells on her missteps. Both are ways of making her own role look smaller, not bigger. Now test the choices against those clues. Embellish means to exaggerate or adorn, the exact opposite of what she's doing. Scratch that one. Chronicle just means to record events. You can chronicle a role while still inflating it, so it misses her modesty. Not this one either. Defend implies she's answering criticism, but nobody is attacking her. Gone as well. That leaves downplay, to make her role seem smaller. Downplay fits because every example minimizes her, crediting others, owning her mistakes, and deferring to the official record. When a colon lists evidence like this, let those examples define the blank before you ever read the answer choices. Here's a hard vocabulary question. The lecture was anything but blank, and that phrase, anything but, flips the meaning of the blank. Whatever word goes there has to be the opposite of how the lecture really was. So how was it? Every example circled back to a single sharply defined question. That's disciplined and tight. Now plug each option into anything but. Anything but focused would mean unfocused, but the lecture is clearly tight, so cross it out. Anything but ambitious? Ranging across 3 centuries and 4 continents is the very definition of ambitious, so that one's gone. Memorable is about the audience's reaction, not the lecture's structure, so strike that too. That leaves diffuse, meaning scattered and unfocused. Anything but diffuse means tightly focused, which fits perfectly. Diffuse means spread out and unfocused, so anything but diffuse tells us the lecture was the opposite, sharp and tightly focused, exactly what the passage describes. The takeaway: when a sentence says anything but, flip the blank and pick the opposite. Main purpose questions ask what the whole text is doing, not one stray detail. Watch the move here. The writer first praises the microphone as an honest ear, then pivots. Every nature recording is a chain of choices as composed as a symphony. So the real point is that these recordings aren't pure reality. A offers practical advice for better recordings, but there's no how-to here, only an argument. Off the list. C compares symphonies and nature sounds, yet the symphony is just a closing image, not the subject. Cut that one. D celebrates the microphone's fidelity, the exact opposite of the point. That dies too. That leaves B. It challenges the idea that recordings are unmediated. Our answer. B is right. The text shifts from praise to a chain of choices, ending on composed like a symphony, a direct challenge to the idea that recordings are untouched reality. Takeaway on purpose questions. Follow the pivot, that little word, but usually points straight at the author's real point. Main purpose questions ask what the whole text is doing, not just one detail. The naturalist flatly says he does not write to acquit the cuckoo. Instead, he asks why those same observers who condemn the bird will praise the orchid for the very same trick. His real target is our moral vocabulary itself. Choice A says the purpose is to defend the cuckoo, but he literally refuses to acquit her. Scratch that one. Choice B says he's cataloging deceptive strategies, yet only 2 creatures appear and he's comparing reactions, not listing tricks. Not this one either. Choice D says the orchid deserves condemnation too, but he never hands it a verdict. Gone as well. That leaves C, where he uses an inconsistency to question how moral language is applied to nature. The author won't defend the cuckoo. Instead, he spotlights a contradiction. Condemn the animal, celebrate the plant. C nails that he's questioning our moral language itself. Takeaway. On purpose questions, ask what the whole text is doing, not which side it takes. Here's a hard one. What's the main purpose of this whole text? Watch what the narrator does with the bus station. She notices the town had changed its face and kept its habits, and that pairing fresh paint over a still broken schedule board is really the heart of the passage. Now let's clear the board. B says the text criticizes the town for letting its infrastructure fall apart, but that broken board is received with comfort, not complaint. Cross it out. C explains why she lived abroad. The text never tells us that. That one's gone. D claims she's distressed, her hometown unrecognizable, but it's instantly familiar. Strike that too. That leaves A. A nails it. Every detail pairs change with constancy. New face, same old habits, and that reconciliation is exactly what she came home hoping to find. Takeaway, on purpose questions match the answer to the passage's whole arc, not one stray detail. Here's a main idea question. So we want the point that ties the whole passage together, not just one flashy detail. Watch the move. The passage describes a club that survives thousands of impacts and then tells us materials scientists are studying its structure to copy the design. Both halves matter. Choice A stops at the boiling water. That's just a vivid detail, not the main point. Off the list. B calls it a top predator, but the passage never compares it to other hunters. Cut it. D says engineers have already built those panels, but scientists are only hoping to copy the design. That dies too. C captures both the durability and the model for tougher materials. C wins because it joins both halves, the club's remarkable durability and scientists using its structure as a model for tougher materials. The lesson on main idea questions, the right answer covers the whole text, not just one striking detail. This is a main idea question, so I need the whole arc of the passage, not one detail. The ice trade rose, then collapsed once machines arrived. But watch that little word point yet, it pivots to the real point. The trade had already created the demand those machines would feed. Choice A only talks about clever shipping methods. That's a supporting detail, not the main idea. Scratch that one. Choice C blames competition for the collapse, but the text says machines ended the trade. Not this one either. Choice D flips the cause and effect. Eating habits didn't kill the trade. Gone as well. That leaves B, which captures both the collapse and the legacy. B works because it holds both halves together. Refrigeration ended the trade, yet the trade had already built the appetite for cold that refrigeration went on to satisfy. With main idea questions, always pick the choice that covers the whole passage, not just one piece. The music teacher's claim is specific. Playing an instrument improves children's memory for verbal material. things like word lists and spoken instructions. So the winning finding has to show that exact link between music training and remembering words. Keep that target in mind as we scan the choices. Look at B. Enjoying music class more says nothing about memory. Cross it out. C talks about adults attending concerts. That's musical interest, not verbal memory. That one's gone. D has kids tapping rhythms, a motor and musical skill, not words. Strike that too. Only A reports children who recalled more words from a spoken list, the exact verbal memory in question. A is right because it directly tests verbal memory. Children with lessons recalled more words than similar children without. The takeaway for support questions: pick the choice that matches the claim's exact terms. No near-miss substitutes. Here's an evidence question. Our urban historian makes a bold claim that the Grand Diagonal Avenue was carved through the city to speed the movement of troops, not to beautify it. So we need the one finding that most directly backs the military motive. Keep that contrast in mind. Choice A says newspapers praised it as Europe's most elegant boulevard. That's reception, and it leans beautification. Off the list. B plants ornamental trees after completion. Pure aesthetics, which cuts against us. Cut it. C says other capitals copied the look for grandeur. Different cities, wrong, that dies too. D gives us war ministry memos debating how fast regiments could cross the city. That's the military motive in writing. That's why D wins. Memos between the War Ministry and the engineer arguing over troop transit times are direct evidence of the motive, not how the avenue looked, but why it was built. On evidence questions, always match the finding to the exact claim. Here's a command of evidence question, and the trick is the wording. The biologist thinks lanternfish rise at night to avoid visual predators, not to chase their own prey. Two rival explanations sit on the table. To support one, we need a finding that fits it but breaks the other. Choice A says stomachs are fullest after surface visits, but that just shows they feed up top, which the prey tracking story explains too. Scratch that one. Choice C, eyes sensitive to low light, tells us how they cope in the dark, not why they migrate. Not this one either. Choice D, their prey also rises at night, that's the food following rival. Gone as well. That leaves B. B is the answer. On bright moonlit nights, predators can see, so staying deep even with prey right above only makes sense as predator avoidance, and prey tracking can't explain it. Takeaway: the best support is the finding only your hypothesis can explain. Here we need the choice that most logically completes the passage. Look at what the blind tests actually showed. Experienced soloists could not reliably tell the old violins from the new ones, and most of them even picked a new instrument for a real concert tour. Choice A says modern makers use superior techniques, but not being distinguishable doesn't prove that. Cross it out. Choice B claims the musicians lacked expertise, yet the passage calls them experienced soloists. That one's gone. Choice D blames deterioration, but we're told nothing about the violins changing over time. Strike that too. Choice C is the one that fits. C is correct. If skilled listeners can't hear a difference and even prefer the new violins, the old ones' fame must rest on something beyond audible quality. Takeaway: let the evidence cap how strong your conclusion can be. This is an inference question, so the answer must follow from the data without going beyond it. Look at the key result. When the team cut the fungal links, shaded seedlings slowed sharply, while sunny ones stayed unchanged. The seedlings that suffered were exactly the ones that cannot feed themselves. Start with B. It says severing connections is equally damaging in all conditions, but sunny seedlings were unchanged, so the harm wasn't equal. Off the list. C claims hub trees actively direct carbon to their relatives, yet the experiment never tests intent or kinship. Cut it. D says sunny seedlings aren't connected, but the passage says they clearly are. That dies too. That leaves A. The carbon subsidy matters most for the ones that can't feed themselves. A is right because growth fell only where seedlings couldn't feed themselves. So the carbon subsidy matters most when a seedling's own food supply falls short. The takeaway: on inference questions, draw only the conclusion the data supports and not one step further. Here's an easy boundaries question. Read it carefully. Marisol packed everything she would need for the month of blank, then a tent, 2 waterproof notebooks, and a week's worth of canned food. The key move is to notice the blank sits right where a complete thought ends and a long list begins. Start with the comma in choice A. A comma can't introduce a list right after a full clause, so scratch that one. The semicolon in C needs 2 independent clauses on both sides, but a list isn't a clause, so it's gone as well. Choice D drops punctuation altogether and lets the list crash into the sentence, not this one either. That leaves the colon in B, which is built to introduce a list after a complete clause. The colon works because the words before it form a complete clause, and a colon's whole job is to announce the list that spells out everything she would need. Takeaway: when a full sentence introduces a list, reach for the colon. Here's a boundaries question. Look at what sits on each side of the blank. The first part, Amir had never repaired a kayak, is a complete sentence. The second part, he borrowed a manual and taught himself, is also complete, so we're joining 2 independent clauses. A comma alone between 2 independent clauses makes a comma splice. Cross it out. Choice B gives us no punctuation at all, so the sentences fuse into a run-on. That one's gone. The colon in D promises an explanation, but borrowing a manual is just the next action. Strike that too. That leaves the semicolon in C. C is correct. 2 independent clauses that are closely related take a semicolon. It's the standard way to join them without a connecting word. When both sides could stand on their own, reach for the semicolon. Here's a boundaries question, so we're really asking what punctuation belongs in the blank. Notice the comma right after vault. That opens an interrupting phrase, buried deep in the side of an Arctic mountain, which is just extra detail dropped into the sentence. Whatever fills the blank has to close that pair. Run the choices. The semicolon in B would split the subject seed vault from its verb holds off the list. The colon in C tries to introduce something, but nothing's being introduced between a subject and verb, so cut it. And D drops the punctuation entirely, leaving that opening comma with no partner. That dies too. Only the comma in A closes the pair cleanly. The answer is A. The phrase about the Arctic mountain is non-restrictive, set off by a matching pair of commas. The comma after vault opened the pair, so a comma after mountain closes it. Takeaway: when a sentence interrupts itself with extra detail, both ends need the same mark. This is a punctuation question, so look at how the sentence is built. Right after restoration, a dash kicks off an interrupting phrase. Whatever fills the blank has to close that interruption. And here's the rule that decides everything. The closing mark must match the opening dash. Choice A ends with a comma, but a comma can't close an interruption that a dash opened. The marks have to match. Scratch that one. Choice B uses a semicolon, which needs a full clause on each side, and this is just a phrase. Not this one either. Choice C adds no punctuation at all, leaving the interruption wide open. Gone as well. That leaves D, owners with a dash, the one mark that matches. Owners with a dash is right because it closes the interruption with the same mark that opened it. The takeaway: when a dash starts an aside, only a matching dash can end it. Here we need a verb that fits standard English. So this is subject-verb agreement. The blank comes right after irises, which makes it tempting to match that plural noun. But the true subject is bouquet, one single bouquet. The phrase of wild irises just describes it. Choice A, sit, is plural. It agrees with irises, not bouquet. Cross it out. Choice C, are sitting, is plural too. The same mistake in progressive form. That one's gone. Choice D, have been sitting, is plural as well. Strike that too. That leaves the singular verb. Choice B agrees with bouquet perfectly. sits is singular, so it matches the singular subject, bouquet. The takeaway, ignore the prepositional phrase and find the real subject before you pick the verb. Here's a modifier question. The sentence opens with the phrase, determined to finish the survey, so whoever fills the blank has to be the one who was actually determined. The opening describes a person or group, so the subject right after the comma is everything. Look at the subject in each option. Choice A makes the last valley the subject, but a valley can't be determined to finish anything off the list. Choice B starts with it, an empty placeholder nobody could call determined, so cut it. Choice D puts 3 days up front, and days can't run a survey. That dies too. Only choice C names the team, the ones who were actually determined. Choice C works because the team exactly who was determined to finish the survey. The doer sits right after the comma. The takeaway. When a sentence opens with a descriptive phrase, the very next word must name who it describes. Here's a subject-verb agreement question. The blank needs a verb, and the subject is split by neither the head curator nor the visiting conservators. With neither nor, the verb agrees with whichever subject sits closer to it. So look at the nearer one, the plural conservators. Now the choices, is in option B is singular. It agrees with the farther subject, not the nearer plural. Scratch that one. Was in C is singular and past tense, but the sentence wants the present, not this one either. Has been is singular too, so it can't match conservators. Gone as well. That leaves are, the plural present verb, our answer. Are is correct because with neither nor, the verb agrees with the nearer subject, and the nearer subject here is the plural conservators. The takeaway. In neither nor sentences, always match the verb to whichever subject is closer. Here's a transitions question, and we need the word that fits the blank. Sea otters wrap themselves in kelp before they fall asleep, and the blank opens the second idea, the part that tells us what all that wrapping actually accomplishes. So ask yourself, how does this second sentence relate to the first? Start with, for example. That would make the second sentence an illustration of the first, but staying put is an outcome, not an example, so cross it out. However signals contrast, and there's no reversal here, so that one's gone. Meanwhile marks two things happening at once, not one causing another, so strike that too. Wrapping in kelp is the cause, staying put is the effect, and as a result fits perfectly. Wrapping in kelp causes the otters to stay put through the night, so as a result is the clean cause and effect link. The answer is B. When the second sentence is the outcome of the first, reach for a result transition. Here's a transitions question. The City Council expected its heritage rule to freeze construction in the old quarter, but look at what actually followed. Renovation permits nearly doubled. The outcome flips against what was expected. So this blank needs a transition that signals a surprising contrary result. Consequently would frame the surge as the natural result of the freeze, but it contradicts that freeze off the list. Likewise adds a similar point, yet these sentences oppose each other. Cut it. In other words, just restates an idea, and this is a brand new fact that dies too. Instead signals a contrary outcome, exactly what we need. Instead is right because the second sentence reverses the expectation. A predicted freeze became a building boom. The takeaway, when the outcome defies what was expected, reach for a contrast transition like instead. Here's a hard transition question. The first sentence praises digitizing the archive. It puts these fragile letters in front of scholars on every continent, but the next sentence pushes back. Handling the originals conveys details that no scan can capture. The blank has to connect a benefit with a drawback that survives it. Test each one, therefore would make the original's value a consequence of digitizing, but it isn't, and it clashes with the therefore already in the last sentence. Scratch that one. Similarly treats the originals as another digitizing perk, yet cut the opposite way. Not this one either. In short promises a summary, but the sentence adds a new point. Gone as well. That leaves the concession that admits the originals before the resolution. Granted, works because the passage runs claim, then concession, then resolution. It admits the original's value before the last sentence reconciles both. Takeaway. When a sentence grants a point the writer still respects, reach for a concession word, not a cause or a summary. The student wants one sentence that explains why scientists treat the Atacama as a stand-in for Mars. So we need a reason, not just a fact. Look at the notes. The soil is extremely dry and salty, and those harsh conditions are what make this desert resemble Mars. Choice A just calls it the driest nonpolar desert. True, but it never mentions Mars at all. Cross it out. Choice B highlights the rainfall record, a striking fact that still ignores the Mars purpose. That one's gone. Choice D says instruments were tested but gives no reason why. Strike that too. Choice C connects the dryness and salt that resemble conditions on Mars. Choice C is right because it ties the Atacama's Mars-like dryness and salty soil directly to the goal, testing instruments meant to find life on Mars. The takeaway: a synthesis answer must fulfill the stated goal, not just state a true fact. Here the student wants to do two things at once: present the movement's method and convey its scale. The notes hand us both. The method is paying rural women to plant native trees, and the scale is right here: more than 30 million trees by 2004. Choice A talks about the Nobel Prize, an honor sure, but it names neither the method nor the scale. Off the list. Choice C gives the founding date and place, telling us nothing about how the movement worked or how big it grew. Cut it loose. Choice D nails the method but stops cold. No scale at all. That dies too. Choice B carries both halves, the method and more than 30 million trees by 2004. Choice B wins because it does both jobs at once. It states the method, paying women to plant native trees, and the scale, more than 30 million of them by 2004. When a goal lists two targets, your answer has to hit both. The student wants to emphasize a puzzle the manuscript presents to researchers. Look closely at the notes. The text follows word frequency patterns typical of natural languages, yet no one has ever deciphered it. That tension between the two facts is the puzzle our sentence needs to capture. Choice B just dates the manuscript, a single fact, nothing puzzling about it. Scratch that one. Choice C generalizes about statistical analysis without ever mentioning the manuscript's undeciphered status. Not this one either. Choice D reports the failed decipherments, but drops the language-like patterns that make that failure surprising. Gone as well. Choice A sets the two facts against each other with although. That's exactly our puzzle. Choice A puts the two findings in direct tension. It reads like a real language, yet no one can decipher it. That contradiction is the puzzle. When a prompt asks for a puzzle, pick the option that pits two facts against each other. That's the full module. The printable PDF of this exact test is linked below. Print it, take it cold, then come back and check your work. New modules and marked up walkthroughs every week.